What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. Time for another Micro Brand Monday segment. I'm very excited about it. Now, I'm wearing my Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot, okay? One of my go-to everyday watches. It's an incredible watch, really nice water resistance rating, sapphire crystal, threaded crown, yada, yada, yada. I've mentioned this watch a million times on this channel. It's just one of my go-to everyday pieces. The bad thing about this watch is I paid under $900 for this brand new many years ago. Now this thing has crept up above $1,200, and they've even come out with a bit of a more modern redesign where they redid the numerals. They made the Arabics a little bit more raised off the dial. Essentially the same watch, just a tiny little tweak, and that redesign is even more expensive than this one. So you're going to be spending over $1,000 on this watch any way you cut it. Well, a lot of my viewers want a more affordable alternative when it comes to modern Pilot's watches, and that's where this might come into play. I don't know. A company called AVI-8 Time Instruments sent me a watch. Thank you for supplying the watch, AVI-8. Thank you for sponsoring this episode and making it possible. We're going to take a look and see if this watch could be an alternative for you guys when you're looking for an affordable, automatic, modern Pilot's watch. Let's cut into it. It's 1:03 p.m. Let's get down to business. Okie dokie, guys, so I have not yet seen this watch. I did obviously take this box out of the package that it was shipped in, only because I just wanted this to be kind of a quick, clean unboxing. Let's see which watch they sent to me. So again, pretty much your standard cardboard outer box. Here we have almost like a nylon, maybe canvasy material, and it says AVI-8 here in leather. All right, yeah, this kind of looks maybe a little bit old school military. I can see that, the stitching and everything, the olive drab colors. Moment of truth. What do we have here? Let's see. Let's get a little closer, yeah? All right, guys, so here we have an AVI-8 Flyboy automatic. You can see it's already ticking away, and all we did was kind of handle the box there. That's good to see, right? It is alive. Let's go ahead and take it off this pillow. We have a hang tag. Tells you how to wind your automatic watch. Boy, this second animation is a little bit suggestive. I don't know, it might get demonetized. What else is in this dang box? We have some marketing material, yeah, just to follow them on all their various social media, and then we have a microfiber cloth, but no one cares about that. We want to see the watch. Let's take a closer look. You know what? Let's go ahead and take this plastic off, because you guys love watching me struggle with that. Okay, so most of the main plastic is off, but there's one last piece for you freaks out there. Hit the like button, because this is your favorite part. Oh yeah, so satisfying. Alright guys, so here it is, an AVI-8 Time Instruments Flyboy automatic Pilot's watch, and we can definitely see there are some distinct Pilot watch characteristics. We have a triangle here over at the 0 Arabic, or what we would refer to as the 12 o'clock. We can definitely see some 24-hour markings. We see some broad Pilot's watch hands that we, again, see in many classic Flieger or Flieger watches, however you want to pronounce that. And we see the very prolific diamond crown, as opposed to what we would call, you know, an onion crown, which is another oversized Pilot's watch crown that's a little bit more rounded off. These were designed so that, you know, if you were a pilot in some harsh conditions, either in the heat of your pilot's engine or the coolness, the cold of, you know, flying an actual plane, your gloves wouldn't hinder you from actuating whatever functions you need, whether it be changing the time on your watch or synchronizing your watch. So it's very nice to see these kind of classic nods to aviation watches from the past. And of course, this is definitely a modern iteration of a Pilot's watch. Now, speaking of that crown, let's test something out. Yes, it is pulled all the way out, and the second hand has stopped. and that's because this watch does have hacking, so we can use this to synchronize to another time source. And yep, there's some resistance there, and I can feel it winding. This does have hacking and hand winding, and it should, because this watch is powered by a Seiko Instruments NH35 automatic movement. Guys, that is a very prevalent movement amongst micro brands. It's a workhorse movement. Is it incredibly impressive? No, but do we expect it, and do we kind of, are we very familiar with it nowadays? Absolutely. It's a fine, solid, again, workhorse movement. Now, in my reviews, I typically like to test the crown function and settings, so let's go ahead and see if there are two distinct crown settings. Yes, there are, very tactile. The first one should be setting the date. Yep. And then the second one, we should be able to shift the time. Yes, very good, very good. So, by all means, not a sloppy crown at all. Would I have loved to see a threaded crown? Yes, because that's kind of my thing. But again, this is a pilot's watch, and it doesn't need to have a threaded crown. My Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot does. There's some added functionality there, just a little bit of a peace of mind. But this does have a 50-meter water resistance rating. I wouldn't go out of your way to get it wet, but I'm sure for rain or splashing it, it'll be just fine. And again, if you are a pilot, it's that much easier just to pull the crown out, change time zones, or again, hack your watch. Very cool. All right, guys, so as many of you know, I'm a bit of a harsh critic when it comes to my favorite complication, and we're talking about the date complication, okay? When it's done well, it's an amazing tool to have. It's a great function, a great complication that you'll use daily. But when it's pulled off poorly, boy, can it ruin the whole aesthetic of a watch. It can become an eyesore. Now, I'm happy to say AVI-8 did a pretty good job here. I really appreciate the dark dial with the dark date wheel, okay? I don't like dark dials and bright date wheels because it can come off as a bit of an eyesore if it's not done perfectly. Okay, I really like that they did a white border there framing up that date window. It's just helps your eye to kind of hone in on there without it being, again, a total beacon, a total eyesore. It just kind of lays there on the dial perfectly, and it's there when you need it, and it's easy to read when you want to. I love that. All right, so I'm gonna be moving this watch around a little bit to show you another thing that really stood out to me immediately when I looked at this watch, and that's just how dynamic the dial is. Okay, so it's definitely playing well with that date complication, but just by itself, it's pretty cool. So as we can see, the chapter ring is dynamic because the indexes are actually popping out each hour, and then each numeral again is raised off of that textured dial, so it's very dynamic without being super busy. Another thing we'll notice is although the hour and the minute hand are very kind of classic aviation pilot's watch hands, big and broad and very visible, we can see the second hand is a little bit different. Although it does retain kind of an old school aviation bullseye there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, all the numerals are raised off of that textured dial, and it just shows some attention to detail. It's pulled off pretty well, and again, that texturing, not something you see every day. So is this watch like as simple as an Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot? Absolutely not. This is much more dynamic. It is, I guess, busier than my Oris, but I wouldn't really consider it a busy watch. And I'm sure some people that don't want anyone that isn't a pilot wearing a pilot's watch, they're the same people that don't want anyone that's not a diver wearing a dive watch. They won't like this watch because they'll be like, oh, who's actually going to use the 24-hour markings? Who's actually going to need to synchronize their watch with that diamond crown? You guys don't fly planes. Well, if you don't like that, then, you know, this probably isn't the watch for you, but I would tell you to how about just let people have fun. If I want to pretend to be Tom Cruise, I'm gonna be Tom Cruise. But jokes aside, I think AVI-8 did a pretty good job with this kind of modern interpretation on an aviation timepiece. Again, we do see those subtle nods to old school Flieger watches, or Flagger watches, again, however you want to say it. People will complain regardless. But it's a very modern take on it. It's not totally classic, it's not too modern that it's kind of weird. It's just a very tasteful interpretation with not too much much branding, okay? I like that it says Flyboy, it says automatic down there in red. The red probably could have popped a little more. They're using a very dark ink there, and one thing I will say is it's a little bit hard to read what that says, but then when we move the watch here, very tasteful AVI-8, and again, the whole play on the brand's name, they focus on pilot's watches. That's cool. I think pilot's watches are pretty dang awesome. Now, it would not be a time teller review if I didn't break out the digital caliper, so let's go ahead and measure this baby, see if it is within reason for a large group of people or if it's just made for large people. Very different statements there. Let's see. So, this watch is about, at its widest point, excluding the crown, 42.9 millimeters in diameter, and then lug to lug, which is very, very important. Make sure the watch doesn't shift around. 49.9 millimeters lug to lug, so just under 50 there. Let's see how thick it is. 13.2 millimeters thick. It's an automatic watch, pretty robust build. I think that's very reasonable. Now, the lug to lug, people will complain it's a bit too big. And of course, the diameter being above 40 millimeters, people are going to also complain it's a bit too big. What I will tell you is in the hand, I should say, this does not seem like an enormous watch. Let me put my Big Crown Pro Pilot, let me take it off my wrist real quick. Let's put this next to each other and see. You know what? The AVI-8 does look bigger than my Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot. Let's resize the bracelet on this thing, put it on the wrist, and see how it feels. All right, guys, here it is, the AVI-8 Flyboy Automatic on my 7.5-inch wrist. It looks great on my wrist. The lugs do not fully encompass my wrist. It's not like it's hanging over the sides of my wrist. It's very legible, a very easy watch to wear. It has some heft to it, but here's what I'll say. This bracelet did not take me very long to resize, but it also felt a little bit rattly. I was like, man, I don't really like the quality of this bracelet. What I will say though, is that I probably would not be wearing this watch on the bracelet anyway. I'm probably going to be putting this on some form of nylon strap or even like a leather strap just to make it feel more like a pilot's watch. Another thing I'll say is that we need to have some perspective here. This watch is coming in just under $300. That's pretty impressive. Again, we're getting a sapphire crystal. We're getting a very unique design, kind of a modern take on a pilot's watch. NH35 automatic movement, 50-meter water resistance rating, a really nice diamond crown, some really cool design cues, and very, pretty good build quality aside from that bracelet. I think it's very reasonable for under $300 US. Again, we have to keep that in mind. So do I have some critiques? Yes, again, the bracelet, and I probably would have liked a better water resistance rating, but again, people always complain when I complain about that. So we'll just leave it at that. I think this is a great, affordable alternative when it comes to a modern pilot's watch. Again, we are getting an automatic, we are getting a sapphire crystal, and it's a pretty dang good movement that all of us are very familiar with. Now, there's one more thing I want to do. We gotta check out that Lume, baby. All right, I'm here with my flashlight. We gotta do a Lume test, guys. This is my favorite part of reviewing watches, honestly. Man, I would have been very disappointed if this did not have good Lume, but this does not disappoint at all. Look at those big, broad hands, just filled with Lume. Shine it up a little bit more. Now, what I will say is this isn't quite as good as like Seiko Lumibrite. My Seikos are definitely much more vibrant and they last a lot longer, I can already tell, but when it comes to comparing it to my Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot, this blows it away. In fact, you know what? Look, even with the glare on the crystal, it looks really nice. Let me bring over my Oris just so that we can laugh at it real quick. All right, dudes, so we're gonna do the same test with this Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot, and yeah, it does not have good Lume. This is like the most disappointing part about this watch. I don't know how well you can discern that like through the camera, but it is laughable. It is really bad lume, and that's why they did a little modernization. They did a little redesign this year for this watch. They gave it much better lume because I guess people like me just kept complaining about it. Maybe I need to review that version, and maybe I'll sell this one and get the newer version. How about that? So guys, I had a whole bunch of fun during this Micro Brand Monday segment. Again, I look forward to this every week. And special thanks to AVI-8 for sending me this watch and essentially sponsoring the episode. We couldn't have done it without your support. But guys, for those of you asking me, is there a viable, affordable alternative to the Oris Big Crown Pro Pilot when you're looking for an automatic, modern pilot's watch? Yeah, I think AVI-8 just made one. I think that it definitely does what we need it to do when we're looking at modern pilot's watches. Again, we have enough cues to make it an aviation watch, right? We have that triangle, we have big, bold Arabics, big, bold hands, and that diamond crown. It's definitely an aviation timepiece, and it's definitely modern, and of course it's automatic. So guys, let me know what you think about this watch. Did they hit it out the park, or is it something you'd never wear? Do any of you own any of these watches? I looked at their site. They definitely have some out there designs that I'm not super interested in, but this one, again, when we're looking at kind of your run-of-the-mill classic pilot's watch, I think they did a very good job here. And again, when we look at the price, under $300, just around $300 US at the time of filming. That's great. I don't know how you can complain about that. But again, leave me that comment. Let me know what you think. And thanks for hanging out with me during this Micro Brand Monday segment. So guys, there you have it, another Micro Brand Monday in the books. If you enjoyed what you saw here and you want to support the channel, then please go above and beyond and become a certified T3 bot. That's right, become a channel member. All you gotta do is click that join button next to that subscribe button, and it's $4.99 a month. It's essentially YouTube's Patreon. We don't use Patreon here, we use YouTube channel memberships. And again, $4.99 a month gets you 6 pieces of content a week, every week. And you get access to the members only Discord chat where we talk about weightlifting, watches, books, film, photography, the stock market, pretty much anything you want to talk about. We have just about 100 members over there, and it's a really diverse group of people. So if you want to join the club, please, I look forward to everyone hanging out over there. It's just a whole lot of fun. It's like pretty much our own private forum where we can just talk about whatever we want. So please, I'd love to see you there. Check out all the links in the description below. And yeah, check out my personal website, www.thetimetellershop.com. That is the #1 place to find affordable vintage luxury watches, serviced with a 1-year warranty, all hand-picked by me. Guys, thanks for hanging out. And yeah, I'd love to see you on the next one. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. Always remember, I didn't invent time, I just tell it.